wait for it. Go ahead, here.
All right, now I'll go ahead and apologize to everyone. So thank you for those who have joined us tonight on Zoom. We were in executive session, and so apologies for starting a little bit late. This is a special session, and we will go ahead to move to approval of our minutes. At this time, we have August 17th, 2022, regular council minutes. If everyone has had a chance to read them, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve August 17th, 2022 city council minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and approved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous in the room. Yeah.
All right.
All right, we will move on to public forum. At this time, let's see, we don't have our usual boilerplate on here, but if there is anyone who wishes to provide public comment on items in the agenda, concerns or items for the future, please indicate on Zoom by raising your hand. There is no one here in the room with us today, so there's no public comments here in the council. So we have a few participants. If anyone online wishes to make a public comment, please signal to Ronnie and he'll take you off mute. We'll leave it about 20 seconds to allow you to do that. All right, probably about 10 seconds. We'll just leave it. Send out a quick chat or raise your hand, but we see no one on Zoom who wishes to make a comment at this time, so we will move on. Send a message to Ronnie if we just didn't get enough time, and we can circle back around if needed. All right, moving on to unfinished business. January and February 2022 financials. If you recall, this was the financials that came up at the last meeting that we requested to table until this meeting so that Mike could give us a little bit more information.
Okay. So this is the February financials of this last year. So we are basically a good 6 months behind. 6-7 months. We just got, I think, April, May, and June financials almost wrapped up. But going into this, our target would be about 66% of budget, about 2/3 of the way through the year. Typically, you can see the percentage of budget on the far right side, and you'll see where our opening balance was. I think it starts on page 10. And works its way through. We start with our revenues. Our revenues were looking pretty good. Of course, this last year, I think we see a dip in revenues from our Oregon Liquor Control and Licensing to the marijuana revenue loss on that. We budgeted for that this next year. So we'll see an even further decrease as that money is rerouted to other purposes. Property tax, other taxes basically roll in throughout the year as they're projected. Some fall through, and if they fall through or our projections are not met, then you'll see a number that's reduced than what they are. We're still receiving taxes in the month of February, but typically you see it complete by March, April. You'll start seeing those numbers reach about 100%. Any questions on revenues? Okay, our expenditures are all under budget at this point in time in February. Things are looking pretty good. Actually, I think looking back through the year, I don't think we had too many items where we actually had budget overages. And I think we just had a couple that we came in May there and did a supplemental budget to make sure that we were under. So this is a long time ago, so going off memory, but I think we're still looking pretty good at this point in time.
Any questions on expenditures?
Street funds, an opening balance of $628,000. A portion of that is held in a contingency fund. And so when you look at the funds that we have set aside for capital improvements or street operations, you'll notice those below the $490,500. That is, okay, that's the combination of our grant. So we did receive the,
I'm not sure what page we're on now.
sorry, page 11. The 100,000 was the special or small cities allotment. That was our last year. We'll no longer get that going forward now because our population is now over 5,000. Tax revenues, you'll see the 324 is usually our tax revenue. On estimate, our capital expenditures for street operations on the bottom, roadways, signs, marketing, 400,000. We spent significant amounts this last year because it was we had 2 years of small city allotments that were expended within this budget year. We're wrapping up King Richard, Phase 1 and Phase 2, and 116th Street right up here. So those are all captured under these $500,000 budget expenses and what was spent year to date when we look at the $420,000 for capital expense. Going to the next page, local option fund. Local option fund is actually pretty quiet. Typically, this is just a straight transfer from local option fund into the general fund to service police services. This is our levy vehicle. We used to get about $260,000 to $280,000 on an annual basis, but we did the 8-cent increase to the levy, and so now we're seeing revenues more in the $350,000 to $360,000. That's basically an offset with the expenses that we have to do with WAC and the communication upgrades and those sort of things. We also have, I'm going to put this out here so you guys are aware, the body cameras. Sooner or later, we're going to have to upgrade our system, and they're not cheap. So when that comes, it's going to be a significant expense to the city. Not only the expense for the software and implementation and recording devices and the data retention, but also for the staff time allocated to reviewing, monitoring, and saving that data. So anytime there's a ticket, an arrest, or something to that effect, it has to get compartmentalized and saved on a server outside of our building. So like in the cloud sort of situation. So we have to buy that cloud, that storage space. We have to save it for 24 months or until the end of any pending litigation. It's going to be a logistical headache that we're going to have to face in the near future. Putting it out there as hit memory. Park SDC funds, basically they have about $130,000. We did receive some revenues in the last, in 2022. This is Horst Development and Ponderosa Pines. So you'll see those credited at $35,000 added to the current revenues. I think this is about $165,000 in our park revenue left. It's my aspiration that we can expand this system development process for the park so that it's more city or region-wide. So anytime that there is a new development citywide, it helps enhance and pay for parks, trails, and natural spaces. I believe that a piece of that or a component of that will be implemented with the master planning because we'll have to consider park improvements on the western expansion area. So I think that gives us a good opportunity at that point in time to adopt a citywide park SDC.
Right.
That or we look to Parks and Recreation levy at some point in time in the future to help us pay for park improvement, park maintenance, trails, sports facilities, things of that nature, recreation facilities, all those items that we can think about and the public loves to enjoy. We don't have a lot going on at the park typically. It's just continued maintenance and our contingency. So we have the contingency is $100,000, and then we reserve $25,000 for future expenditure there. Because if it's in contingency, we try not to touch it, but reserved for future expenditures, we can plan differently.
Right.
Park improvements, I think we had $20,000 budgeted last year. We haven't really, but we spent $13,000. I'm trying to think what we exactly spent that on.
It was on the new, on the lawn, but also, putting in that drain, right, didn't we do another, we did some drain issues?
Yeah, we did some
park.
drainage, yes, on the north and the south side there, we did
There's
some
some
drainage
tree- there's some tree
issues, and
stuff.
there's some tree stuff, so, I mean, it all just kind of adds up after a while. We also have an issue with the pump system again right now.
Okay.
It sprung a leak, broke pipe or something, so we're gonna have to get in there, dig it up, reroute it, and so the play field right now is on manual watering only. It doesn't work with the automatic watering system. So it kind of dried out because the automatic system wasn't working. So that's why the field right now is not looking as great as we'd like it. But
But going into winter, we'll,
yeah, I mean, it'll spring back to life, but it's just it's unfortunate right now, right? It's the hottest time of year, and of course.
of course, we have to go to manual and how to send, yeah.
Right.
That's,
So, anyways, that's what we have for park. Another piece of that is like the continued maintenance that we have out there with Brightview. Ongoing. So, ARPA, to date, we still have not had very much interest from the grant program. We've had a few calls of some local businesses that are interested in going for it. We've sent them all the information. We haven't gotten anything back from them. We're trying to promote it when I go to local businesses here and try to promote it, like, hey, the city has a grant program, go online, here's our webpage, try to get them going, but we just haven't seen much drive for that. Maybe it's because of the reporting that's required with it, but that's, like, they have to consolidate their pay stubs, and they have to prove that they were working in person, so there might be elements there that are too onerous for the applicants themselves. Unfortunately, I don't think we're at liberty to waive those requirements because of the restrictions that are on our shoulders.
right.
So,
And we're reluctant to anyway. I mean, those are safeguard, right? I mean,
yeah.
I have empathy that it's cumbersome and all of that, but at the same time, it is what it is, right? So.
Moving on from ARPA, so we still have those funds. Essentially, we just got our other second tranche deposited this last month. So those funds are now moved into our investment pool, State of Oregon, so they're sitting there readily available. We are still working with Clean Water Services to see if we can get this purple line off the ground. We're about $1 million short. So we're trying to find.
Going to legislative session.
Right?
Everyone, put your fingers together.
And it's running on a high level, so it's garnering interest, it's getting some attention. I think it's a win-win project. Clean Water Services feels it's a win-win project. We have support in the legislative house as well, so this thing's by far not done. We have till 2026 to expend the funds, so we have time. There's no time to rush. If we can give the legislature enough time to kind of circle back to us and maybe dole out some additional funds that weren't gobbled up already, or maybe then we can get this thing launched. So.
With that in mind, just out of curiosity, again, and I'm sure that you have mentioned this in the past, but with grant funds, if they go unused, do they end up going back to
we can,
That eventually, if the.
we can reroute them as a council, or as a whole, the council can reroute those funds to any of the uses that are permitted in the, final rule that was released. And the final rule, we expanded the uses quite a bit. So there's many more, opportunities to expend those funds. In fact, they gave most small cities like us up to $10 million to write off as lost revenue. So we could probably get really creative and still comply with the final rule of our, if it doesn't, if that one dries out and we don't get much interest, we can get creative on how it, maybe,
So let's
maybe
put our
there's a
heads
trail.
together a little on how to inspire some of our local businesses to take advantage.
Well, I'm just thinking like maybe there's a trail or something
Well,
that we could
Yeah,
address, or some other useful thing.
yes, absolutely.
But there's also, speaking of trails, I think we have it on the agenda to talk about it later, so I'll wait on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can move on from ARPA. TDP, we really haven't done much with TDP this year. Of course, you do see some revenues there. That's going to be from Ponderosa Pines and the 131st development, with portions that we had at that point in time. I think you're going to see more rolling in from those two developments in the near future. We're not really spending much on that, except for the admin that it takes to manage the funds. So that's $3,000 that you see transfer out. On TDP, Transportation Development Tax. You guys know what the Transportation Development Tax is, right? It's basically a system development fee that's charged on every new development, and it pays for any collector roads, collector or arterial roads at King City. When we think about roads that are considered collector or arterial, we only have a couple. We have Fisher, 131st, and Beat Bend. And for us to add facilities to the list, it has to meet the collector classification in order to be approved for TDP funds. Let's see, so we move into the general fund. This is January. No, this is February. All right.
I feel like we're looking on our,
Yep, so we
agenda at something different than that. Am I wrong?
So we just went through the
Are you guys looking at?
February financials, right?
You do a February first.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
went through February financials,
Okay.
which was
And I'm-
page 10 through 15. And then we have January financials following up on page 16.
Ours are separate attachments, so I was looking at February and it's 6 pages, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apologies, everyone, I'm gonna hand the meeting over to President Paulson. I had a scheduling conflict tonight, so I'm gonna have to bow out. Now, I have reviewed both financials, I don't have any questions on it. And then, can I preemptively give my vote for the future items, or do I need to be here in order to do that?
Well, I feel it's kind of redundant to go back through the January financials, because there's not
Yeah.
much of a difference between January and February.
Right.
We're still in budget both ways, so, future agenda items, yeah, so we have the,
I mean, can I give you my vote so it's counted now, or because I'm in the lead when the vote's called, will I be? Well, I can zoom in while I'm driving, I'll try that.
okay, there you go.
I'll do that, I'll zoom in, and I apologize, everyone, this is kind of one of those cluster nights, but, so I'm gonna bow out, I'll hand it
We
over.
can move to approve the financials while you're here, if you'd like.
I will entertain a motion to, approve the financials.
I move to approve the January and February 2022 financials.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, that was all, I heard everyone? Good. Motion carries. All right, I will now, hand over the meeting to my guy.
Michael wants to use that gavel.
He really does.
I really wanted to use the gavel.
All right.
Bye, Jamie.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so I guess we're moving on to new business.
Yeah.
Item 5, which is Resolution R 2022-5, and resolution awarding a contract to Knife River Corporation, 2022 street improvements. Right?
Yeah, so, our engineers came up with a project estimate of, $310,000 to $330,000 for this project. We received three bids, one from Knife River, one from Brick Paving, and one from Pacific Excavation. Pacific Excavation was the highest at $542,000. Brick Paving came in second at $351,000, and Knife River Corporation came in with the, suggested or recommended bid at $315,890, for the improvements that include, help me out, Ronnie, is it, Queen Anne, Monterey, Mino, and Carmel, okay. And, so our estimates were between 310 to 330. Knife Rivers came in that estimate, the other two did not. Our engineers are recommending that the city council award the bid to Knife River.
So we're just needing a motion on this one?
Yeah, motion to, so, resolution, 2022-05 is a resolution to award Knife River the contract for the street improvements for the year 2022.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve resolution R 2022-05.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? On to B, is the Metro RFSP sales grant.
Sure.
Can I address this in a minute?
Sorry, I don't have any, items on this. This was a last minute item that came in just last week. We wanted to make sure it got on this agenda for this discussion. We applied for a Metro Trails grant to review the West Side Trail Segment 1, which is the trail segment from the Tualatin River to Beef Bend. Along that is, public restrooms, trails, there's also a, wetland area drainage that traverses that area, and so we were looking at potential to do some scoping for a linear wetland extension facility and bioswale type activity along there. There's also in the Metro Trails Guide an equestrian trail. The trail system itself from Beef Bend to the Tualatin River is about 2,600 linear feet, 2,400 to 2,600 linear feet along that stretch. The total project cost is estimated at about $3.4 to $3.8 million. So when you think about a project of that size, you usually have about 10% is your project engineering and design. We had applied for a grant to Metro for $224,000 to do the, what we estimate would be the project engineering design and establish methods and means for property acquisition for a couple pieces that are random pieces that are with PGE and Kinder Morgan and Bonneville, and I think there's the Soundview Mobile Home Estates own a chunk, Edgewater owns a chunk, King City has a chunk in there, but essentially looking into the property acquisition rights and all this stuff. The fund is a federal fund. It's a regional flex fund program. Metro has a minimum grant award of $200,000. Our match is 45%. So instead of us matching at like $65,000, $75,000, Metro has informed us at the bottom that they can grant is $200,000 from their end, which means our match would be $164,000. would do all the design, engineering, permitting for that segment of trail. A lot more money than we had anticipated. It's also a much larger award than we anticipated. So I leave it to you.
So I'm clear, this is run under the power line, basically, like that. Make a trail, kind of like what they have through Beaverton.
So if we don't utilize all of that money for engineering, is it only specified as engineering, or can it just be applied towards whatever we need it for that?
So there's some, from our application was just engineering and design. Because the cost is so much more than we were planning, there's things added on to that. So I believe we can add in, some scope creep, like maybe there's some property acquisition components that we can look into, and maybe get some of the legalities set up for that property acquisition, so that then it's just a push button ordeal, or maybe we get that element set up as well. I believe that even at $364,000, when you talk about the level of design that we're talking about in engineering, and where this might go, I think you'll be surprised at how quickly that money gets used up. Especially when you're thinking, you're basically doing a large trail design for a segment of the population that's going to take public involvement. There's arts and culture components. There might be artwork that gets scripted into it, public restrooms, plumbing, water, sewer, purple line extension. There's lots of.
An artistic output.
There's all. I think we have to be, the dog park is a question thing because, the fence. So items above the ground with power poles above, maybe some issues. So, but those are things that we can explore during the planning process, right? And community garden, those sort of items. So,
So just to clarify, the city is recommending that we approve?
I hate to pass up on opportunity money. You know, I talked with, Tina Diefenbach from Washington County, and she was thinking that, you know, there's a lot of opportunities out there for trail funds and things of that nature that have much better matches, don't have as much administrative, overhead, but it's been my experience since being here that even when we apply for those, we don't get them. Because we don't have the economic, shortfalls or the diversity of some of the other larger cities. And we also don't have a big history of doing these type of projects. So we're easily swept under the rug or passed by. So even though the match is significant, I think it's a significant opportunity to chunk this away and then get us in a position where we can then fight for maybe some Connect Oregon funds, because now we're shovel ready. Because they all want shovel-ready projects, and once we have this designed and engineered and everything else, we're shovel-ready. And then we can really apply for like a $3 million grant or $4 million grant and I'm running.
Yeah, that was my next question. If we spent all this money just for a plan, then going forward, how would we get money implemented and put it in?
Yeah.
So there's opportunity for other, and we would have a better shot at a shovel-ready plan going to go.
And where would our share come from then?
That is the question. So, we could, you know, like I was mentioning earlier, we could reroute some, ARPA funds, we could reroute some general funds, we could, take some pots from, you know, our contingency or something to that effect to make a match. We could also take it out of long-range planning. I imagine this process is going to take more than just 1 year, so we could split it up into 2 fiscal years as well.
That would fall after one way.
I think this is long-range planning, so you put a chunk of budget season, you put another chunk into long-range planning, and another chunk in long-range. The good thing is we're done with master planning, right? hopefully. Hopefully by next budget cycle, we're done with master planning, and so I think every year we put about $100,000 into long-range planning, so I think it's on par with what we've done every year up to now.
So in other words, what you're saying is there will be money that's being freed up, basically a line in the budget will be freed up now that the master plan is running.
Hopefully,
Okay,
yeah, as long as we wrap it up in a, you know.
That makes sense.
And I think it'd be very handy for the city.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's my plan, too.
Yeah, I mean, and we can look at, you know, we spoke, about crossings, road crossing, connections, crossing points, where the Kinder Morgan pipeline is and what is necessary to cross that gas line, you know, and where the proper places to cross underneath the power lines, and it might provide a lot of good detail for us and a lot of, technical information that we don't necessarily have right now.
So, this just as action is to discuss and consider, do we need a motion on this?
I think we need a motion to move forward and accept the Metro, or to, accept the conditions of the grant. And then I have it on record that I'm okay and not just going and accepting a larger than authorized grant amount, because it is $100,000 more roughly than what we had anticipated. I would prefer if the council, if you support this, gave me that authorization.
Well, then I'll do a motion to, approve the Metro RFSP Trails Grant, to get $200,000 from Metro and the city would match with the $164,000.
Second that?
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none?
That's about all I have for today.
All we have as far as agenda items, does note the city manager's report, today. All right.
Are you looking for a motion to close the
Well,
meeting?
no,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Actually, as we were discussing beforehand, I think since we have another meeting in 2 weeks, it makes more sense for us to do our reports at that time anyway, so, I think we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Nice.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ellen.